Hi guys, it's Machaela. So today I decided to do a full face of makeup using my most beginner friendly products in my collection. I wanted to point out, no, you do not have to do every step in this routine. I just decided that with each step I typically do in my makeup routine, I decided to show you the best option. So if you want to skip primer or moisturizer, go ahead and skip primer and moisturizer. Or if you prefer concealer instead of foundation, you don't want to do all of that, don't do all of that, or don't do the eyes, or maybe you just want the mascara. Do whatever you feel like fits your routine and where you want to start. Everything here is just very basic, beginner friendly, what I would recommend if you haven't bought these products for the first time. So with that, before we get into the tutorial, hit that subscribe button, stick around. I do videos focusing on beauty and lifestyle, and I will see in let's just keep on watching. I'm doing things differently right now. I've been putting, I keep mixing up my intro and my outro, and well, it's just, I'm working on it. We're gonna get this intro figured out. Anyway, let's just keep on watching. Alright, let's go ahead and start with moisturizer. Honestly, any kind of moisturizer I believe would be really good for beginner friendly makeup. I'm just using the First Aid Beauty 5-in-1 face cream. I honestly feel like it's a very good, beginner friendly brand when it comes to skincare. Because this one here, it's got your sunscreen, it's got just all the moisturizing properties you're going to need, especially if you have dry skin. Alright, because I've got dark under eye circles, I do like to use my Clinique color corrector. I like it because it's not, you don't get a lot of the red marks on your face, because I know that can be a little bit intimidating if you're using a true dark circle color corrector. So I like this because it does the job, but it's not overwhelming. You don't have weird marks all over your face that you're then gonna have to try and figure out how to cover. So I like this because it's super easy to use. Again, it is one of those more high-end pieces, but definitely one of the ones I think is worth the investment. This is my holy grail of eye creams right here. And to go in with primer, I'm going to use the Milk Makeup Blur Stick. Again, another holy grail. I think it's very beginner friendly. I think you just put it on your face. I think it does a good job at color correcting. I think that, I've got a red spot on my nose, so I'll put a little bit more there. I will go ahead and put it all over my head. And I mean, there are many different options you can use for a beginner friendly primer. Believe me, I would not be showing you this if this was not my all-time favorite go-to primer. If you've been following my channel, you've probably seen that I use this in a lot of my videos. So when it comes to brows, there are a couple different things you can do. It just kind of depends on what you want your brows to be. I pulled out both the Anastasia Brow Definer, and as soon as the camera picks that up, if you can see the way that angle is in that brush, it's very much angled. I'm trying to get the camera to pick up on it, but it's very much at an angle. The tip, I might not be able to show up, my camera's kind of being a little weird right now, but the tip, there we go, but the tip of it is very angled, which I feel like makes for a very good quick color in. I'm able to color in my brows in no time. So this was an option, and then another one would be, I believe that this is the I Heart Revolution Brow Tint. I also know that the Ulta Beauty brand makes one that I really like as well. But this is for a quick sweep of the brows. You just want to kind of get done, do it quickly. Honestly, either way I believe would work for a beginner friendly brow. It just kind of depends. Do you want something a little bit more filled in, or do you want to just do a quick just a quick brush to the brow hairs and be done? Again, that's going to depend on how sparse your brows are, or you can combine the two. I think that today I'm going to go ahead and go in with my brow definer, just because I do kind of want to show how quick and easy this is to do. But all I really do is I just start at my brows, and then I just kind of color in, and I just go right up to the arch, and then I just color in, and then at the beginning, anyway, so I just kind of do that. And then just for the sake of being able to show what you can do, I'm going to go ahead and just go in with this on the same eye and just brush out my brow hairs. Again, you can use these together, you can use them separately, but if you're just wanting to use this, just take this and just kind of brush it up, color it in, And I mean, if you're wanting to color, you just add a little bit more to the sides here. And then that's really it. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do the other eye real quick, and then I'll move on to foundation. For a facial spray, I'm going to just use this Ulta Beauty Watermelon Face Mist. Okay. And then for foundation, I thought about going with the Colorpop Pretty Fresh Tinted Moisturizer. However, after looking through my collection, I decided I wanted to go with the CoverGirl Skin Clean Fresh Skin Milk. I wanted to go with a light coverage foundation or a tinted moisturizer, even more than a light coverage foundation. Simply because I don't believe that as a beginner it's necessarily wise to go ahead and start up going into with a full coverage foundation. I feel like you really need to work your way up to it. I like this because it's light, it adds a little bit of coverage, it feels good. It's not going to leave your face cakey. It's very much a beginner friendly foundation. For concealer, I decided that a stick concealer would be the best for beginner friendly. So I went with the Benefit Boing. It's their hydrating concealer. I mean, there are plenty of good options, but I feel like when you're really starting out, you know, I'm thinking like somebody who hasn't ever done makeup before. I'm just thinking like the doe foot, it would work, but it'd probably be a little bit much, especially if you got too much on your eyes and you're not really sure how much to put on, whereas the stick, you just kind of draw it on and then it pretty much just blends out right there in place. You don't really have to do a whole lot to it, whereas the doe foot, you kind of have to spread it out. It takes a little bit more work, so that's just kind of where I was at with this. I just take it and blend it with my beauty blender. I'll kind of take whatever's left over and put it on my highlight zones down my nose and just like through my T-zone. Again, if you feel like just doing the under eyes, that's perfectly fine, but pretty much just do it wherever you feel like works for you. For eyeshadow primer, you've got one of two options. You can either use a concealer or you can use an eye primer. Personally, I like an eye primer because my eyelids are a little bit more oily, and this for me is just guaranteed to not slide off. I'm using the Ulta Beauty Matte Eye Primer. So I'm just going to stick a little bit on my finger and just put that on my eyelids. Now I'll use this very sparingly. I mean, these little tubes, they're small, and this is honestly just a sample size. I do have a full size on backup. It's small, but it goes a long way. You know, it's, if you look at the eyelid, there's just a little bit of space on the eyelid, so you really just need a little tiny bit. So we've got that on. And now for eyeshadow palettes, there are many different ways you can go with them. You can go with a neutral, you can go with, I wouldn't suggest colorful, but you can go with a little bit more pinks, which for me is what I did. Now this eyeshadow palette, it's definitely an oldie, but it is a goodie, and I know you can still get it. It is the Urban Decay Naked 3 palette. If you are not wanting to spend the money on a high-end eyeshadow palette, I really feel like the E.L.F. Bite Size Quad in the shade Rosewater is a very good alternative for it. I feel like you can get the same amount of looks. However, you do only get 4 of them. I would suggest maybe picking up a couple of them because they are only $3 a piece. So, I mean, you can get like 2 or 3 of them, like maybe pick up one of the neutral ones and then maybe a colorful one if you would like a colorful one, or this one with the pink tones. Honestly, you can get by with just using this one if pink tones is what you are into. However, the only thing that this doesn't have is a shade to set with, and so with this eyeshadow palette, I've got the setting shade with, which is what I'm going to use to set down my eyeshadows. Ignore the fact that one of my eyeshadows broke. Honestly, this is just an older palette in my collection, so it makes sense that it broke. As with any eyeshadow, you just got to be careful. As with anything in life, you just got to be careful. But I really do like this because it's got your very pink tones. They're all muted pink. They're all very muted. They're neutral. They're not warm. They're not cool. You've got like your deeper shades here. You've got your more dustier, brighter shades here. And I just feel like this is a very versatile palette. But I'm going to go ahead and set my eyelids with this shade here on the end. This one right here, this is actually this shade Strange. I'm just going to take that, and I typically set the eyelids very soon after I apply my eye primer, simply because I just like to get it before it starts creasing. If I wait too long, I typically don't like the way it feels on my eyes. Definitely I would have done a lot sooner than what I was just sharing with you. But either way. And then next, you can go in with the brush that comes in with the eyeshadow palette if you want. I'm just going to use some of my Morphe brushes. Honestly, get the E.L.F. brushes, get something cheap. It's more about the type of brush versus the actual brush. I'm going to go ahead and just do a very basic, very everyday kind of dusty look today. So I'm going to go in with the shade Nooner, and that's just going to be my crease color. And again, just kind of building it up. Take your time. I mean, the problem with makeup, and especially if you're not into makeup, is makeup takes time to build up. It takes a minute. I mean, you can do it fairly quickly, but it does take a minute to do. So it's not, don't fret if the first swipe is not overly like pigmented. Honestly, that's something really nice about the Urban Decay eyeshadow formula, is that it's not overly pigmented. It is very buildable. It's better to build up the color than have to try and put too much on at one time. So that's honestly just, that's what's great about the Naked palettes, because that you can build them up, and it's very much a dip your toes into the water kind of brand, not full on pigmented. And as you can see, it took a little bit of building, but that crease shade is right where I want it. Now for the lid shade, I'm going to go in with the shade Buzz here. It's a very light dusty pink, very neutral, very light. If you did not want a dusty pink, you could totally go in with the golder shade Trick, or you can even go in with some of these deeper shades here. Any one of them would work. I would suggest staying away from like these two colors on the lid, simply because you do not want to go full on like bold with the lid right away. Alright, so I'm just taking a flat brush. Honestly, use your finger if you don't like the pigment. I'm just going to play around with the brush as well. But this is what it would be with the brush. Again, with eyeshadows, especially ones if you are looking for more beginner friendly eyeshadows, my advice, either spray the brush, and actually I'll just go ahead and show you the difference. So this is a dry brush, and again, if you want something very subtle, you can use it. And then I am going to go in, I'm going to go ahead and just spray the brush really quick. Now you got to be really careful, because you can easily ruin your eyeshadows if you choose to spray your brush. But spray the brush, lightly dip it into the shadow, and then just place it on the lid. And as you can see, that's a lot more metallic. It's a lot more intense. And do what you feel like fits you, honestly. But just taking it all over the lid, and then just letting it be that. Finally, I'm just going to put this on a little bit more, but finally I'm going to go ahead and take, for the other eye here, I'm going to just take my finger, dip it into here, and then just place it on the lid. It goes on a lot faster, and it's like you get a lot of pigment right off the bat. So if you are not wanting to take a lot of time and you do not mind eyeshadow on your fingers, I would suggest going with that. It's just like that. And honestly, that's pretty much what I'm gonna do with the eye look. It's very simple, just two colors. I mean, if you wanted to take one color all over the lid and call it good, you can. But personally, I like to add a little bit of depth and dimension to the eye. I'm going to go ahead and take that same flat brush, dip back into the shade Nooner right here, just my transition shade. And I'm just going to run that on my lower lash line, and just to give my eye a little bit more of a rounded shape. Again, you can totally skip this step if you want to. Personally, I prefer a little something on the lower lash line. I don't like going too heavy, but I do love a good lower lash line. And I am looking into my viewfinder as well as my mirror just to get this on. But yeah. Next, going into mascara. Oh, by the way, if you wanted to recreate this look using this eyeshadow palette here, I would suggest going with this as the transition shade and this as the lid shade, but you could even use this one. I'd probably stay away from this one until you want to start doing like a liner, or you want to define the eye a little bit more, but this transition shade with either one of these two would be perfect for this look. For mascara, I'm going in with my Ulta Beauty New Heights mascara. If you've been watching my videos recently, you'll know that I fell in love with this stuff. When it comes to mascara wands, or mascara in general, do not go high end. Don't bother, it's all pretty much the same. What I'm looking at is the wand. I like this one because it's a spiky wand, it's separating, it pretty much does the work for you without it being a mess. It really is more of on the smudge proof side. I mean, you can go with more of an hourglass shaped wand or something with a little bit more bristles, but I feel like those are a lot more bound to smudge versus something like this. Just comes together nicely. Personally, I don't do the lower lash line just because I like the effect that it gives my eyes being more lifted up, and it takes away from my under eye circles. But overall, yeah, this is, I feel like, a very good beginner friendly mascara. And if not this one, look at the wand, get something a little bit spikier, not so much bristled or hourglass shaped, but long and spiky, and that'll just, I think it's just a very good first step into makeup sort of mascara. For bronzer, I really like the Balm's Take Home the Bronze. I have mine in the shade Oliver. I love this particular one because it's definitely more of a cool tone bronzer. As you can see, it is well loved. So it's not gonna like look too orange on the face, and it's just very, very light and just kind of a dusty kind of shade. So for that reason alone, I think this is a very good friendly bronzer. I'm just gonna take a big fluffy brush and just dust it. You don't want to like stipple it, you just want it to be a dusting of color. This is meant to mimic the shadows on your face from the sun. So you just want to put it just lightly all over your face. I take a little bit on the nose, just kind of on the sides. Again, I'm not stippling, I'm not concentrating the color, I'm just putting it all over and letting the color fall. I actually learned this tip off of a makeup channel not too long ago, and I honestly, like, I just love, ever since I've been doing the bronzer this way, I just love the turnout of it. And for blush, I'm going in with the Milani. This is just their flower blush. I have mine in the shade Blossomtime Rose. I love this because it's very muted. I don't suggest going too heavy on the blush to begin with. I'm just going to stipple it into my cheeks. I suggest keeping it very centered to the apples of your cheeks and taking it back slightly and just putting that up. I am taking a little bit up here, but I'm just using whatever's left over on the cheeks. The Ulta Beauty brand, their mineral blushes are also great. I definitely love them. But I feel like just kind of going with the pink tones, I love this blush in this shade. And I think it's just very good. It's a beginner-friendly shade. It's a beginner-friendly brand. I do love being able to use this. And then I'm putting it on the bridge of my nose as well. And just doing that. And once you get that where you want it, again, not being too pigmented, you really just want to mimic the natural rosiness of your cheeks. Lastly, for highlight, well, not lastly, I still have a few more steps, but for highlight, I'm going in with my Colorpop Super Shock in the shade, it's the Super Shock Cheek in the shade Flexitarian. I'm taking a fan brush. There are a couple of different options, but I think a fan brush is definitely easiest. Just take a little bit here and just highlighting it on the cheeks. I like this because it gives you that highlighty effect, but it's not so intense that you're going to feel overwhelmed with it. I take it down the bridge of my nose, on the forehead a little bit, on the cupid's bow, and underneath the lip. And what this is supposed to do is to like mimic the sun, like highlighting your face, like the natural glow of the sun on your face. And then I'll take some above my brows. And really that's all I do. I like this because it's a nice champagne color. You're not playing around with colored highlight. You're not getting too intense. It's not too warm. It's not too cool. It's just kind of like it's there, but it's not in your face kind of there sort of color. So yeah, with lips, I decided that I wanted to go with more of a pinky kind of nude color. I'm going to briefly line my lips with the lip liner, but you can totally skip this option. This is the LA Girl Perfect Precision Lip Liner, and this is just in the shade Nude. And all this is going to do is it's going to give me a guide for my lipstick. So I'm just going to put that. You don't want to go above your lips, you want to go on that line right there. Just right there. Color it in if you feel like you need to. And again, I like to shape the Cupid's bow a little bit, so I just kind of do this. A little bit of an X, go down. Don't overline, otherwise you get a little bit out of hand. Looks a little bit fake personally, but you don't want to overline. You just kind of want to line, because what that's going to do is that's just going to keep the lips, when you put your lipstick on, that just gives you a guide for your lipstick. And then I'm going to go in with the Urban Decay Vice Lipstick in the shade Liar. It's a little bit different than the lip liner, but that's okay, because I am just using the lip liner to guide. If you wanted to go a little bit deeper nude with the lip liner, that's fine. I really like this shade here because it's not too nude. You don't want to go a pale nude. You don't want to go too deep for a beginner friendly. I like a good pinky nude simply because it's definitely more of an in-between. It's muted, and honestly this can pretty much go with anything. This is like my go-to lipstick. As you can see, this is almost out. So I really just like that for the effect of it's not too intense. I would even suggest going a little bit more pink if you feel like you could, but if not, this definitely is a great option. Last but not least, setting spray. Again, many different options, but I decided to go with the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. It really doesn't matter which one you can. I find that the aerosol can is easy to use. You spray it on your face. You don't have to worry about doing this, that, and the other, because it just kind of gives an even spray all over your face, and you're not worried about trying to make sure you hit all the spots. So this. And that's pretty much it. I'll go ahead and just spray it down here a little bit, and really, you're done. I mean, this is it, and I like this look. I like that it's natural, but it's still kind of me. I'm more of a girl that likes a little bit of glamour, but I feel like this is very beginner friendly, very wearable, and it makes you feel good. So, alright. So my hair is done. I'm a little bit more ready for the day. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. And thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I hope this was very helpful. And if you have any questions, please comment down below. And yeah, thank you for watching. God bless, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.
Bye.